So now we will see Spark architecture. This will be like a high level architecture so that you can connect the dots and you can see like what is RDD and how does distributed processing works in Spark and how can we relate Spark with Yarn. So we will be discussing these aspects like how it is working. So right now I am explaining Spark architecture, and specifically speaking I will be talking about Yarn client mode. So Yarn client mode is basically for interactive data exploration, interactive data exploration, and driver actually runs on the same machine where you started the program. So driver runs on client side or maybe gateway machine wherever you started the program. So let's say we have this cluster, and this cluster is having multiple machines. So this is the cluster. That's it. And in this cluster we have multiple machines, and these machines I'm indicating through this. Okay, so this is like one worker machine, another worker machine. So I'm not discussing about the master machines, but I am talking about the worker machines. So these are my worker machines, and this is my cluster, and these are my worker machines. So this particular, let's say this is the client side, it can be part of the cluster also, but I am just showing it separately. So this is the client machine, and this client machine has other processes. I will be showing that. So let's say this is our client machine, and this client machine is this. Okay, so what happens basically, like let's say we have this terminal, and on the terminal if I say spark hyphen shell, so when I do spark hyphen shell on the terminal, it will start a JVM process and it will start a driver process. This driver JVM process I am showing it like this. So this is my driver JVM, it's not a daemon. And here in the cluster we are running Spark on Yarn, so the logical architecture looks like this. So I'm explaining this part, like Spark is running on Yarn and that too on HDFS. So we are focusing on these three technologies here. This is logical view, this is logically, this is how it is stacked. Physically it has multiple daemons. So you can say this is my, let's say, data node, which is worker daemon of HDFS. Here also data node, data node, data node, data node. So we are not focusing on master machines here, as I mentioned. We are focusing on worker machines because master worker discussions we already had in Yarn architecture. So now we are going beyond master worker. We are now towards the domain of Spark, which is under application master. So this is the worker daemon of HDFS. Node manager is worker daemon of Yarn. These are node managers, worker daemons of Yarn. And here you will find, like when we start, we got the driver JVM, and then the resource allocation will happen, and application master will request resources from resource manager. So those things are already happening that I explained in the previous step. So once resource allocation happens and everything is assigned, then we will start getting executors. So let's say we have these blocks, and these blocks are on each machine. Let's say block 1, let's say I'm showing distinct blocks, block 1, block 2, block 3. These are distinct blocks, block 3, and then we have block 4. So these are different blocks, and we got some JVMs also. Let's say we have these JVMs, and these JVMs are actually nothing but executors. So these are executors. So I will just show it like this. This is executor JVM, executor JVM. So these are allocated based on the discussion that we had related to Yarn. So this allocation already happened. Now when we say let's say spark.read.csv, or when we say sc.text file, so I will be taking example of Spark RDD API because it is very easy to correlate, and it is lower level than Spark SQL. So I will be giving that example of RDD API. So let's say in our code we have written this thing like val RDD1 equals to, I'm giving any name, you can give any name, RDD1 is equal to sc dot text file, and here we are giving the path. So this path is, let's say, HDFS path. So my data is already stored in HDFS, it is in green color, so it is already there in the cluster. So I am giving that path, and I am taking that example of RDD API. I can even use sparkarchitecture.txt file, but just to quickly write, I am just writing 1.x syntax rather than 2.x syntax, but that hardly matters. So we are basically saying RDD1.count after this, or maybe take two. So let's say I am writing this, and this will trigger the job. So actions in Spark trigger the job. So if you write sc.text file, nothing will happen. But if you write RDD1.count, it will trigger the job. It triggers the job. Actual work will start happening in the count. If you give a wrong path and if you don't write count, then it will not even complain. It will complain only when you start an action or you take an action, then it triggers the job. So what happens basically, you are saying that RD1.count, so you want to count it. So what it will do, it will start moving data from HDFS to this executor. So it is happening in parallel. So it is happening in parallel. So we got this data, let's say this is our data, and this is in memory. So it may be possible that the entire data cannot fit in memory, so that's absolutely fine. So in that case, you can consider the Spark framework is making use of disks also. So Spark framework can work on commodity hardware where we have very less RAM compared to disk. So even if you have less RAM, no problem. So you can actually make use of the RAM, whatever amount of RAM it is available, and rest of the things you can just make use of the disk. So we got all the data. Let's say I am saying my data can fit in the memory of executor. Let's say the data is here, and if you see overall, it is sending instruction. So when you are writing these instructions, you are writing these instructions in a driver, and then you are sending these instructions to the executor. So this is sending instruction code to data, right? So this is another thought process, because earlier we used to send data to our compute. If you remember, we were having storage area networks or network attached storage, and then we were having grid computing nodes. So we were moving data from storage area network to grid computing nodes. But nowadays the things have changed. Like instead of sending data to compute, we are sending code to data. Like instead of sending data to code or compute, so this is a radical shift which has happened with MapReduce and Spark technologies. So now when we are sending instruction to data, the data is already there. It's distributed data set, and HDFS is already in place. YARN is already in place. Now Spark is sending instruction to the data. Now during this process, it will start reading data and it will bring it in memory theoretically, and it will create a kind of RDD. So overall, if you see, this is called RDD1. What is RDD1? The data which is there in memory. So this is entire thing. This is RDD1. And RDD1 is logical, it is not physical. Physically, we call it partitions. So in green color, if you see, in green color, we have partitions. And partition is basically degree of parallelism in Spark. So if you have more partitions, then you can do more parallel processing. So this is a portion of data in RDD. So RDD will have, this RDD will have multiple partitions. RDD will have multiple partitions, and here you will see like we have 4 partitions. So these 4 partitions are like combined together is called RDD. RDD in very high level term, you can say this is kind of in-memory file, but it is not 100% in memory. In a cluster, you have maybe having petabytes of data, but you never have petabytes of RAM. Your RAM may be in terabytes, but not in petabytes. So definitely memory will be less compared to the data. So that's why layman terms we are saying in-memory file, but it is not. So it's distributed data set. So resilient, R means resilient. So resilient means even if one machine goes down, no problem, it can recover from the another copy, because every block will have multiple copies on the cluster. So because we are working on HDFS, so it can recover this particular partition. Let's say this machine goes down, so it can recover B2 block on another machine, and it can recreate this particular partition. So that's why we are saying it is resilient. And distributed data set, because it is all distributed across multiple machines on the cluster. So this RDD is a concept of Spark core. In Spark SQL, we call it data frame or data sets. But for the time being, I think this should be fine. Like this gives you an idea like what is RDD, what is partition, and what is executor. Now let's say after this I am writing a code, and code says like RDD2 equals to RDD1 dot filter. So and then you are saying I want to filter data based on certain attributes. Let's say I am filtering data and I'm saying okay, so let's say filter those lines which contains some specific word, like I'm looking for, let's say, Spark or some keyword in the content. So I'm looking for only those lines which are having Spark in it, right? So this is a filtering condition, and then I will say RDD2 dot maybe count. So I'm making use of this, and so when you do this thing, then what happens, basically you are moving into another RDD, RDD2. So you know RDDs are immutable. So I mentioned this thing, RDDs are lazy here. So one property of RDDs are lazy. Lazy means they don't eagerly load your data in memory. When you take action, or you then only jobs are triggered. So that's why I was saying, even if you give a wrong file path, no problem, it will not complain. It will complain only when you take action. So RDDs are lazy, so they will defer loading data as much as possible. RDDs are also immutable. So immutable means they will not basically be modifying the same RDD. So what happens on the cluster? So when you are doing filtering, this is the Scala code. So Scala code is basically running, Scala is installed on all the machines. So this code is for small data. This is sent to all the machines. So instructions are sent to all the machines. So this code will go to all the machines, and it will start executing on all the machines in parallel. And what will happen? So let's say this is our new filtered data. This is our new filtered partition. So this is our new filtered partition, and this we are having new filtered partition. So you can see in this color I have represented RDD2. So this is partition of, so 4 multiplied by this is RDD2, and similarly RDD1 I was representing through green color. So I will say this is green color. So 4 multiplied by this partition is RDD1. So RDD2 is nothing but this. And can you see there is a transformation happening? This is called transformation. So this filtering is happening, transformation is happening in parallel, and this is immutable. That's why another copy has been created rather than modifying the same part. So there is a task going on. Can you see there are tasks going on? This is called task in Spark. So I hope you are clear what is partition, what is a task, and what is an RDD, and what is transformation, like we are transforming data from one state to another, what is immutability, what is laziness, and how overall process is working. So once everything completes, you can store data on HDFS, or you can send the results back to the Spark shell depending on what operation. When you're doing count, then it will send results back to the Spark shell. Then driver JVM, you will be able to see this particular result. So the purpose of this session was basically to give you idea about different terms and how overall distributed processing is working in Spark. So if you have any questions, you can ask, but for the time being, if you are good, then I can just move on, and I can start explaining some other interesting things, and we will do hands-on also in